This graph is lying to you, not on purpose. But if you're using a trending topics tool like this to decide what to build next, then you're already behind. These tools don't signal demand, they lag it. By the time something shows up as trendy here, people are already talking about it and buying it, and probably have been for months, which means that you could be spending weeks building something that has already peaked, or worse, something that was never really in demand in the first place. So instead of starting with the graph, I skipped straight to where people are already talking, the comment sections and search bars on social media itself. And what I found there changed everything as far as the way that I see SEO, or search engine optimization. If you're new here, I'm Terrence. This is digital marketing from scratch, and I'm learning this all in public, in real time, right alongside with you. This video is for anyone trying to figure out exactly what to build next without wasting weeks on something that nobody actually wants. By the end, you'll see exactly how I landed on one focus out of the three, and you'll walk away with a real, repeatable framework that allows you to do the same thing for whatever you're building. This is only episode 3, so we're still fairly early, which means you get to watch this actually get figured out, not a version where I pretend I already have it solved. So first things first, when it comes to figuring out exactly how I can solve a specific problem in a marketplace, the first thing I do is actually ask AI what's in demand, not what I felt like teaching. And this is stage 1. Claude came back with 5 niches, and 2 of them stood out to me immediately: digital marketing and prompting. Content creation or content planning wasn't one of the 5 originally. I found it while I was digging deeper into digital marketing itself, and that's how I landed on 3, all justified with the help of keyword searches and social validation, not by what I personally wanted to cover. And once I had my top picks, those 3 went into the search bar on TikTok next to see if real people were actually backing them up. Once I started digging into the prompting space, I realized that it wasn't exactly just one niche. There were dozens of sub niches in there, and this is what I consider to be stage 2, identifying a sub niche or a gap in the marketplace. Your sub niche is essentially the same category as your main niche, but it's just dialed down a little bit more narrow. For example, I was just looking for ways to improve better results or better outputs when it comes to prompting, but there were tons of different ways to categorize a prompt. Things like prompts for productivity, prompts for keeping your systems secure, and even prompts for habit tracking. Marketing and content planning had some of those same layers too, but not nearly as many different variations. Now, I could have picked a sub niche randomly and just hoped for the best, but instead, I did what I should have done from the start. I read the comments on the top post with the most views, likes, shares, and comments, just to get a pulse on what the audience actually needed or how they felt about what was already being offered. And I didn't just skim through these comments, I actually read thoroughly. This is where things got really specific. The pattern wasn't about one in particular sub niche. It was a pattern of people burning through more tokens and usage than they wanted to when it came to generating results from the prompts that they originally put out. Some of the things that people were saying were things like, I wish I could figure out how to get it to follow my directions, or I can't get it to create videos, or every new chat feels like I'm talking to a different agent, or Claude is burning through my daily token limits in 30 minutes. So on and so forth. All of that told me the same thing, but just said in different ways. Most of it wasn't really the AI's fault. It was people not being clear enough on the outcome that they wanted before they even started typing. And that clarity can do 2 things. It gets you a straight answer about whether the tool can actually do what you're asking for instead of burning tokens trying to force it. And it makes sure that even when you got the right tool, you're aiming it at the right target. You can have every tool you need and still land on the wrong outcome if you were never clear on what you wanted in the first place. When you get clear first, everything downstream, tools included, gets much easier. This is a solid niche for me to build a product around, but I wanted to see if there were more pain points in different industries. So I continued with Claude's recommendations and other suggestions. Same deal when I typed in digital marketing into TikTok search bar. Broad category, but it broke down into a few real sub niches: creating digital products, faceless content built around those digital products, and how to actually get sales once your digital product is created or getting ready to be promoted. There's a ton of great content out there on how to build a digital product, but there was one thing that kept showing up in the comments over and over and over again. People were saying things like, not one sale, not making enough money, it's not going how I expected, or I wish someone would hold my hand through this, which tells you something specific. Most people aren't struggling to create a digital product. They're struggling to get the sales after it's built, because either nobody that's actually selling in this space understands what their buyer actually wants, or the creators are having a hard time communicating a couple of crucial selling points and solution oriented points to their ideal customer. That's the gap. But even though I liked what I saw when I was searching up keywords in digital marketing, I wanted to look at one more suggestion from Claude. Content planning was quicker to pin down. Creators kept saying some of the same things. Not enough time to post as much as they wanted to, or no real system for filming and editing lots of pieces all at once. Things that were being mentioned in the comments were struggling to figure out what their content pillars should be, needing to strategize but can't because they've got a full-time job. And even things like, I need to start sending emails, but I'm scared to. It goes on and on. And the conclusion that I drew was that most people already knew what to do in order to post consistently. They're either just short on time, don't know how to categorize what they've already got, or they're stuck in analysis paralysis. A clear roadmap with the right systems in place could knock all of those obstacles to the side. So now that I had an idea of which pain points were hitting the hardest in these niches, I went ahead and put them into a spreadsheet so that I can have them organized for if I wanted to dig deeper into any one of these or save them for content ideas and maybe turn them into hooks or something of the sort. By the way, if you guys are into any of these niches or subcategories, which one of these pain points stood out the most to you? Drop them in the comments and maybe we can cover them a little bit deeper for somebody who's maybe looking for ways to overcome what they're going through when it comes to finding the right audience or right product that can better serve their ideal customer. Now, the exciting part where all of this gets validated even further is the next step. And this is where we do a little bit of shopping around to see what some of the products that other creators are offering to your ideal customer. What are some of the products? What are some of the services? And what are the price points that these other creators are offering in the marketplace? What we want to know is, are people actually buying to solve these problems? And at what price point are they actually spending? And to my surprise, a few of the creators that I found weren't even selling a one size fits all product. Some were only offering a strategy call, which would help them figure out their customer's specific pain point before they actually offer them anything. And to double check that none of this was actually a fluke, I ran all three of these niches through Etsy, and there's a lot out there. Hundreds of digital products between ebooks, templates, and spreadsheets across all three. But only a dozen shops were actually pulling in the bulk of the sales. The ones with the real reviews, the bestseller badges, averaging around 3 years on a platform, everyone else is fighting for whatever's left. And the pricing told its own story. Etsy's prices were low, anywhere from 89 cents on the lower end to 20 bucks on the higher end. But on TikTok, anywhere from $27 and went as high as $600 to $1,000, and sometimes even surpassing $3,000. Now, stage 4 is where you make a decision based off of your findings. At this point, we have a good amount of data around what's going on in the marketplace as far as what's in demand based off of what the top creators in these niches are making content around, which posts are getting the most engagement, and what their audience is saying in the comments. Let's line these up. Prompting isn't really a tool problem, it's a clarity problem. You have to know your actual outcome before you can ask for it well. With digital marketing, the pain point wasn't exactly building a digital product. It was everything that comes after it. And that's when it hit me. Sales was never about luck. It's about understanding your buyer's actual problem, what actually gets them to buy, and showing up as the clearest solution to that problem, not the loudest one. And content planning isn't an idea problem, it's a system problem. A repeatable way to turn what you know into something you can actually ship without burning out. And this channel is already built around that exact skill set that solves the middle piece: market analysis, product research, sales pages, lead generation, email marketing. That's not a coincidence. That's the actual gap lining up with what I'm already teaching. And here's actually how I thought about it. Digital marketing is like the bike. Prompting and content planning are like the two wheels. And I don't think I'm going to be dropping either one. I'm just pointing them at direct marketing specifically because that's where I can build something real that actually solves a problem. And remember those creators back in stage 3 that weren't selling a product at all, just a strategy call? It's the same concept showing up as an actual business idea. Figure out exactly what your audience needs so that way you can better serve them. You can't solve a problem that isn't clearly defined. And sometimes the fastest way to a real result isn't a pre-made product. It's more information, more feedback, straight from the person that you're trying to help. So here's where I'm landing. Digital marketing is my focus going forward. So that graph that we saw in the beginning of the video, it's not your enemy. It's just late. And if you want to know what's actually in demand, before you build anything, you don't want to start with the trend tool. You start with the people themselves, their search bars, their level of engagement on these posts, and their thoughts and concerns right in the comment sections. I've been calling this the social validation framework, or SFV for short. And today was the full thing using a completely free method live from start to finish. And if you want to run this yourself, here's the process in 4 steps. 1, find niches in demand. Ask AI what's actually in demand, not what interests you, and then check that against social platform search bars. 2, narrow down the sub niche. Read the comments, not so much the captions. That's where the real pain point lives. 3, check the products and services that are being offered to your ideal customer. See if people are already paying for a solution and at what price point are they paying. 4, make the call. Line up what you found and decide based on the pattern, not your gut instincts. If you're in the digital marketing space, comment your niche below and tell me which one of these 4 steps, if any, that you've never tried before. I genuinely want to know if you guys learned something new today. And now that I've got a real niche and a real gap to build around, next week is episode 4. I'm taking you behind the curtain to show you how exactly I can turn this into content, where the ideas come from, how I build a hook that stops someone from scrolling, and how I close it out with a call to action that actually speaks directly to my audience. By then, I should have my personal Instagram and TikTok pages linked somewhere in the description, so be on the lookout for that if you want to see how this content will look in short form format. Hope to see you in the next one. Until then, peace out.